A very good morning. After seeing a big dump in towards the downside yesterday, are we now ready to look for more longs again? Since this morning we have been pushing up higher, and today I'm going to break down EURUSD for you from the very beginning because I got a lot of questions yesterday. Fabio, can you break down EURUSD on an empty chart? So now that's what we are going to do. So first of all, we start with the overall market structure where we identify the overall impulsive phase in towards the highs here. Now, this impulsive phase here shows me that after this break of structure, we are clearly bullish. We've then seen an overall retracement phase in towards the downside, and now once again, we are pushing in towards the upside. Now, when we look for further upside on EURUSD here on the daily time frame, there are ultimately two things that we want to look for. First of all, we want to look for an overall liquidity low that got taken out. So this here is our overall liquidity low being swiped. And then second of all, you want to see an order flow shift. So what we had here in the past for, let's say, the past 2 months since around mid-September is that EURUSD was pushing in towards the downside here together with the daily order flow. Now that daily order flow has still been holding. However, at the moment, we are pushing up higher and higher. So once market structure shifts or order flow shifts here internally, and we see a push here in towards the upside, then we'll look for the retest and then we'll look for the continuation, because what then happens is that the overall order flow shifts where the sell down before the big buy up, that becomes your area of demand or area of order flow that then has the potential to push the market up higher. Now, as long as this overall buy up for the strong sell down remains in control together with this little bump in the road here, which is the blue dotted line, which is holding price from pushing up any higher. As you can see, we see clear reaction within the overall area of supply and liquidity high. That is still what is holding EURUSD back from pushing up any higher. So waiting for this overall order flow to shift, and then the ideal longs will come into play, because then what do we expect? We then expect that the overall impulsive phase has officially started in towards the highs. And what is the impulsive phase? Well, the impulsive phase is when you, for example, like we did here, take out this liquidity low, and then here at the bottom we had a change of character, and then you see the next impulse in towards the highs start. Now, once again, here we've taken out the overall liquidity low, and we are now starting to see the market push up higher. And now I'm simply just waiting for this blue dotted line to break, and then we'll look for further upside. Going into the 4-hour time frame, what we can see here is that when we look at the 4-hour time frame, and I'm just going to remove all the lines again, is that if we focus purely on what we just did as well, so looking at market structure, here we have a break of structure in towards the downside. Here we have the overall bump in the road of the overall 4-hour impulse in towards the downside here, where your 4-hour swing structure is swing bearish from this high in towards this low. This is the bump in the road. Bump in the road gets taken out, and what do you see once the bump in the road gets taken out? You see a 4-hour change of character in towards the downside. And you see actually that the overall, let's say, breaks of structure keep on taking place in towards the low. So currently here on EURUSD, this is now your 4-hour area of supply, and you've been holding pretty much an overall order flow, pushing the market further and further in towards the downside. Now, once this breaks, because currently this, let's say, or these green zones, which are your internal order flow, are simply just pushing price lower in towards the overall actual order flow. And what I mean with actual order flow is pushing the market down lower in towards what we have here is a little uptrend, where the market is then pushed by these supply zones in towards the 0.5 fib, which is the red line here. And from there, you can now see that we're starting to form somewhat of support. So from here, the market now has the potential to break out again and continue with that overall order flow in towards the upside. And that is why I've been saying, guys, currently we have a very clear overall internal uptrend where we have demand here in control. These demand zones have been pushing the market up higher and higher. And as long as these demand zones hold, the market could just, again, push in towards the upside. So what are we then waiting for in EURUSD? We're waiting for a break of this overall low, the retest then to take place, and then we'll look for the next sell opportunity in towards the downside. That is currently the game plan for EURUSD and what I'm personally going to be waiting for. So those shorts are on the table, and the reason I'm waiting for that confirmation of downside confirmation here on EURUSD. To take those shorts, that has to do with the fact that we are swing bullish on the daily time frame from where? From the overall low here in towards the overall high here. And we've just taken out massive liquidity, after which we're starting to see the market push up higher. Therefore, taking aggressive shorts is not really in my personal playbook. Though, looking at the 15-minute time frame, obviously, you can very clearly see that there have been some very good 15-minute setups that you could have taken, because once you look at the 15-minute time frame, and for those who are interested in trading the lower time frame, this is the exact kind of setup that you want to be taking. You had a shift in market structure. We had a push down, push up, push down, push up, and then a push down, break of market structure. Once again here as well, you had a break of market structure. Once again here as well, you had a break of market structure. Now, what happens here with EURUSD is that every single time we see the retracement, so what we have here is the impulse, what we had here was the impulse, and what we've had here was the impulse. So we're still in what? We're still within the overall, let's say, bearish phase, or whatever you want to call it. Now, the market has retraced back up towards internal liquidity highs over here, little bumps in the road here, which is now taking out. So there is still potential for EURUSD to provide us with another sell-off in towards the downside. And when is that sell-off going to come? Potentially once you see the 15-minute change of character here, then retest, and then further downside, following the past where every single time, once we take out the bump in the road, market sells off, bump in the road, market sells off. And now again, we're coming towards the bump in the road, and then the market has the potential to sell off. Personally, I still think there's a little bit more upside in it. And then if we see a strong push down from a strong supply zone, yes, then you can look for a short on the lower time frame. Other than that, it could just head up higher again, and then we'll just look for more upside. But those are kind of like the two, let's say, game plans that you can apply here on EURUSD if you trade the lower time frame. So currently, you should still be focusing on the shorts as the overall 50-minute structure is bearish. But if we see a break of this high here, then what do? We look for the exact same thing, where we then want to see a bump in the road get taken, right, on the overall, and then we look for the overall long again. That's then the overall game plan for longs on the lower time frame, because then what are you doing? You're trading with what? The overall 4-hour immediate order flow. Now, the reason why I'm not a massive fan of taking any longs in this phase of the market is because the overall main liquidity high here, the main bump in the road, has been taken out. And once the main bump in the road has been taken out, the probability for longs just kind of like decreases very massively from my personal experience. And that's why then in those cases, I'm just saying, okay, let's just wait for the daily break of structure to happen. Then we wait for the retest, and then we look for the next long opportunity in line with what is then your overall daily swing structure and your overall daily internal structure as well. So I hope that's a clear breakdown for you guys of EURUSD. Any questions, obviously, just let me know inside Discord. Going into dollar index. Dollar index is slow, guys. It's waiting for the FOMC press conference that's going to be taking place this week by the Federal Reserve. If I'm not mistaken, that's going to be tomorrow. For the rest, EURUSD very likely just to move sideways. I'll clean up this chart later. There's not much to say about this chart beside the fact that the overall supply zone here is still in control, like I mentioned yesterday. The real longs on the dollar will only come once we break the high, and then we look for the next push up. For the rest, yes, 4-hour order flow is still bullish. Or, I mean, the 4-hour swing is still bullish from this low in towards this high, but there's just not really much or a very good case to make for massive upside here on the dollar index just yet. Only once we break the overall internal high that we have here. So personally, not a big fan of dollar index trading at the moment. So mainly just focusing on EURUSD itself. Going into GBPUSD, this has pushed back up higher. Very consolidative still. Not too much going on, if I'm very honest. After we liquidated the overall internal high here, we saw somewhat of a bearish reaction, but so far just a descending corrective slow market. If I look at the 1-hour time frame, you can see here that we have again come back up for some internal liquidity again, but this for me is just more of a range than something that I'm really looking to trade at the moment. I, in these kind of situations, mostly just prefer for GBPUSD to push up higher again. Then we can clarify this as demand. Then this is the important low, break that low, retest, and then look for a short again. That is what I prefer. Can it just sell off now? Obviously, yeah, it can. But this is not ideal price action. It's waiting for the FOMC press conference. So yeah, in these situations, it's just best to kind of like sit on your hands until you get what I just said, where we break the high, and then this becomes order flow. This is then the low to break, boom, boom, boom. Or you just wait for boom, boom, boom. Or, well, in my particular kind of like strategy, I cannot really take any longs now because we're currently at a bump in the road here. And if I look at the daily time frame is bearish from this high in towards this low. The market here on the daily swing has retraced into the 0.5 fib exactly. And for the 4-hour time frame is bearish as well from this high in towards this low. We've taken out liquidity, so now what you're waiting for is a confirmation to look for those good sells. Could you already get into a sell? Obviously, yeah, you could with the stop loss above the 4-hour swing high with like 150 pip stop, targeting a new lower low. That's perfectly fine, though. Yeah, with the FMC, I like to wait for confirmation. So that's GBPUSD. Going into AUDUSD, as you guys know, I'm looking for more longs on this. This again headed up higher after a small retracement yesterday. Still very bullish here on AU. Didn't retrace as deep as I've wanted to so far, but yeah, you can just see very clearly that if you look at the 1-hour time frame, again, we're taking out some internal lows here. That's then apparently enough then to push the market up higher again. Last night you had the Central Bank of Australia announce a hawkish hold, if I'm not mistaken. So they did not cut interest rates further, and they're unlikely to talk about any further rate cuts, more about rate hikes in the near future, which is bullish for a currency. You can ask ChatGPT if you don't understand what I just said. But looking at AU, yeah, I mean, I'm still bullish on AU and on NU, and I'm only looking for further upside. Yeah, in the end, AU has moved relatively clean, despite me not really liking it due to the consolidative nature. The overall analysis that we've been talking about for quite some time now has played out to a certain extent, where you've had an impulse phase here in towards the highs that broke market structure. You took out the final little liquidity low here. You even formed some extra lows here, took those out, and since then you've been pushing. So I'm just looking for more longs on AUDUSD. NZDUSD is the same story. This thing also very, very bullish. Talked about this inside Discord. A massive update on that quite some time ago. Looking for more longs and looking for more upside. Excuse me. Looking for more upside on NZD as well. You can see with NZDUSD, it just chops up higher, so said. And this often happens with NZDUSD, where the reversal can sometimes be so aggressive because it's been so oversold that you just have these moments on the NU where you get kind of like this kind of price action where it just goes and goes and goes. So don't forget to be aggressive enough that you don't miss the whole move. So any liquidation is kind of like a good opportunity. I would have said personally to look at the 1-hour time frame. Looking at the 1-hour time frame here, it is not the cleanest. To a certain extent, you have the impulse here, and then you kind of liquidated this internal low. But it's getting very messy now ahead of Wednesday, where the Central Bank of the United States is going to be talking. You can see it's very just consolidative. So maybe wait for somewhat of a reaccumulation, new market structure to get some new ideas on how we want to enter this. But this was a lot cleaner than what we're seeing here now. So don't be worried if you're not in this at the moment. You still have some equal lows here, for example, that could be taken out in the near future. I'm personally not a massive fan of NZDUSD at this very moment. I obviously talked about it when I was trading here, but yeah, it's not like we can trade every single week, every single day on a certain pair. Sometimes it's just a phase where we need to wait for the reaccumulation to happen. So what I mean by that is that we could, for example, say, hey, we see a retracement, and then we see some more clean price action again, and then here we create an internal low, and then from there we can just look for longs again, because overall we are bullish on NZDUSD. If you look at the daily time frame, it's also very, very clear. Obviously we're all looking at this demand zone here. Yeah, that would be beautiful if we do retrace that deep and we have some internal liquidity right above it. 100% if it retraces towards it, I'll look for longs. But other than that, I also just showed you it doesn't always need to retrace. So yeah, looking for longs, but ideally we would see some new price action form. USDCAD, not very interesting at the moment for myself. Not really focused on this. Got a breaker structure in towards the downside. Still has equal lows here at the bottom, so still has potential to sell off. USDCHF, that has pushed back up, now pushing back down. Yeah, not a pair that I'm a fan of as well at the moment due to the higher time frame consolidative nature being on the daily time frame, just moving sideways now. Again, rejected the 0.5 fib, moved back up towards the 0.75, and now rejecting down again. 1-hour time frame shifted bullish again, meaning for now, yeah, you would be more interested in longs, but I cannot really long this because that's not yeah, according to my plan, when the market is consolidating. But here, break structure up, and then here you have liquidity low, liquidity low. So those lows in the future could provide some further longs. But then again, the daily time frame is not bullish. The 4-hour time frame is consolidating as well, relatively. So not a pair that I'm actively looking to trade at the moment. USDJPY, yes, looking for more upside on this still. This is a much more cleaner one. Looking at this, I think it's relatively straightforward and clear. Swing low, swing high. Took out the final liquidity low here. Got us a double change of character, and since then has been pushing up higher. So expecting this to continue pushing in towards the upside to take out a lot more descending highs that it's built up. We just had a press conference from the Central Bank of Japan. I'll drop an update on that inside Discord on what was said, but this, yeah, should still head up higher. And again, there's still some equal lows open. So what I mean with that is that, look, here, for example, it liquidates this and then it heads up higher. And now again, here we have some liquidity, for example, or here we have some liquidity. This is the main one. And then if it retraces in towards there, look for some more longs once again. But yeah, looking for more upside on USDJPY still. And then of course we have gold. Now gold in itself is still bullish on this, but it's waiting for FOMC on Wednesday. So yeah, can you trade this? I mean, obviously I do the daily market updates, but it doesn't mean that there's something to say every single day. This is currently stuck. What you would want to see is obviously lows get swept and then look for longs. As simple as that. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to go live for the New York session today as well. So I'll see you there. And yeah, have a fantastic day and see you inside Discord as well. Thanks.